Everyone brush your flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the regular scheduled council meeting for Egg Harbor City, April 27th, 2023. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act of the State of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting of the Egg Harbor City Common Council was provided in the following manner. Advance written notice of this meeting was posted on the Egg Harbor City Hall bulletin board. Advance written notice of this meeting was posted on the Egg Harbor City website. Advance written notice of this meeting was sent to the Hamilton Gazette and the press. The meeting is being conducted via Zoom and conference call. The meeting is also being recorded to air on the Egg Harbor City website, Channel 97, and the Egg Harbor City Facebook page. Member roll call, please.
Mayor Jim Petty. Here. Antonisi will not be present. Clark. Here. Dash.
Here.
Galloway.
Here.
Heist. Here. Hesse. Here. Timbers.
Here.
Wright will not be present. Ritchie.
Here. All right, at this time, we have a presentation from representatives from Renault Winery and Resort regarding the Renault glamping pilot program for 2023. You're welcome to step up.
Well, good evening, board. How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
My name is David Kane. I am the owner's representative at Josh Melody Fallon. I support our general manager, Kevin McCarty. I want to start by saying thanks last week to the planning board. In that discussion,
If I may interrupt you, could you just swing around this way because our video is set over there? Actually, in front of the podium would be fine. Yeah, so you're all.
okay.
Yeah, I apologize.
That's okay. So it was my first time in front of the board, and some of the things in the comments and feedback that we got, I know Kevin went back and, it's something where, we'll put a task force together if something like this does go through. And we had a couple of people who have been lifetime campers. So, board, thank you last week. We appreciate it. The idea is glamping. Glamping is, to me, is a fancy word for camping, but it allows families to come and enjoy the camping experience without having to bring tents and, bring stoves and do everything else. Gives a family that's busy a chance to come out. The idea originated with guests asking us. And I think we sit on 240 acres, Kevin? 240. And I think that our footprint's about 20 of those acres. And it's all a beautiful place, love the scenery. And so Kevin and our owners, wanted to explore this idea. And what we're asking for is a pilot program, a pilot that would allow us to see if it's something that works for our owners, but additionally something that we could come back if we were looking for an approval for more. We could have data. We would help you make an educated decision. This is something that wouldn't be profitable for us this year, but it's something that would let us make wise decisions and have the ability to plan for it. And not only see what the market is, but you learn from the pilot rather than going all in and coming through with a big land development, all the approvals that everybody needs. We're looking for 2 sites of 4 or 5 campers that we would put about 100 yards on the Egg Harbor City side behind Renault in a previously cleared area. It's sandy soil and it's open. So we wouldn't have to do anything other than just move to that back area. And, there's, for Renault Winery, I think we did 5,200 rooms last year. And we were only we had a request for 28,000 rooms, during wedding season. So a lot of our revenue that should be here as fiscal impact for Egg Harbor City, it goes away. Some of the board last week asked questions about, are you still working on the hotel? We absolutely are. There's a lot of planning, a lot of approvals that have to go into that. We have the need. We have the need to capture that financial opportunity for us and for Egg Harbor City as well. And we appreciated just, the comments asking about what our plans were last week. And it was encouraging to just see the board members thinking about fiscal impact for this community. But right now, we send everything down to Galloway, and I'm seeking we'd like the opportunity to keep it here. Some of the questions that were asked, what are we doing with waste? What are we doing with sewer? So we would be pumping that out. And one of the things that we got as far as feedback from some lifetime campers were how often that needs to be done. So we took those comments, we talked about water. These units have solar on top, so we would need very limited power, and because we're in a clearing, we would get full-time sun. But no matter what we're doing, what we'd like to do is make educated decisions, do our due diligence, so we see where we want to put money and put an investment for the guest experience. But we also know it's important to be successful, so that if we do come back and we go through, a much longer, process, providing a lot more information, this would serve as a basis for it. I think that this will really, apparently glamping is big, and this will tell us if it's something in this area. And because it's been requested, you'd have 2 campsites where, if a family's coming out for a wedding, whether it's cousins, or, whether you're just doing something for your kids, it would just give us the opportunity to say, does it work? Is it wanted? And so that's the basic concept in general. My hope is that we would get the feedback to know whether to invest in this in the future, and also be able to provide the city feedback of, is this going to work? Does it provide opportunity? Do we grow it? Our goal is to make Renault as successful as possible. Starting in COVID, it's challenging. Even right now with supply chain and the cost of everything, it's challenging. So making those educated decisions is going to be really helpful to us. But thank you, and I'll answer any questions that I can that you have at this moment.
I have a question.
Yes.
I am a glamper for my entire life.
Yes.
In diapers, I camped. My children have camped their whole life. You're saying you're going to empty the tanks, the black and the gray tanks.
So we're going to empty them quite often.
Right, but my question is, what are you going to do with it once you empty it? You have to have a place in order to put it.
So there are companies that just empty septic tanks out, and we would put it into a tank, and then they would clean it out.
So you're going to have basically a freestanding tank that you're going to put the black and the gray in.
So that's the idea right now. And one of the things, Kevin, he went back last week, he took some of the comments, and so on one of our morning calls this week, he said, if we have support this week, so I want to put a task force together. And so, that's something that we would do. And again, we got such great feedback that, we'll put together a plan. And if it's something that we can do a pilot on, all those things. How does it work?
How
What are we
about
doing?
water supply to the campers?
So that's what we talked about last week. We talked about whatever's in there is not enough, having a freestanding tank that we can fill and that we can draw from out at that site would be helpful. Same thing, you're mirroring a lot of what they said because you have that experience.
Been doing it a long time.
No, I love it. Any other feedback or guidance you have?
Fires, are you going to allow fires in the area
One fire pit.
for 2 campsites?
Yeah. No, one fire pit for each
For each
campsite
campsite.
is what we would like. And we can do, a pit that was approved and contained, something that, would meet those guidelines. We'd like to do one for each site.
And each site would be 4 or 5 campers.
Yes, that's what we'd like to do as a pilot.
And you believe that the solar panels would be enough to,
I believe it's
Electric
part, I
vehicle.
believe we would have to run, temporary line or a generator out there, one of the Whisper Fly generators. Having not done it before, that's what we would learn in the pilot.
are you thinking about 30 amp or 50 amp campers?
We're looking at Airstreams and bullets and that's what we're looking at right there. We haven't made a decision. What we've done is contacted, but the ones we've looked at. They sleep more. And of course, when somebody is selling, they tell us that these solar panels, which if you follow all over the past few years, that technology is now at the top. So, we're hopeful that what they say is true, but we'll get into it and really break it down if we know we have the support to do the pilot. And that's the task force that, Mr. McCarty will put together, to answer these questions, make sure we get off to a good start and understand, what does it take them to the next? What does it take to support? What's the interest? We feel like with the rooms that we turn away, that will be full. But we find out, when we set up and give families, an opportunity to get there. I had just said last week, I have 4 children. I'm an old dad, I'll be 51 on Monday, and my oldest is 11, and my youngest is 2. So, when you go out and you want to camp, you want to load up a truck, borrow somebody's truck, and get all the stuff together. It's still hard enough taking care of my 2 and 6-year-old. We should go through it. So again, I haven't had the opportunity like you and some of the other board members have. But, I would think it would be, a lot more attractive, doing something like that. And again, I think the need comes from having different opportunities for the guest experience while they can still enjoy the golf cart, while they can still go to Cafe La Porte, while they can, sit out, stay up longer, gather around without sitting in a hotel lobby. So I wouldn't be here if I didn't think it would be successful, but some of the things you mentioned, how do we learn? How do we stage? How do we prepare? And so,
You need to get some campers on your board.
yeah,
That's what you need to do, honestly, because they're the people who do it, the people who know how it works.
yes. And so we have 3 lifetime campers, within the planning and commissioners here, so that's great.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you can go to a camping store and they're gonna tell you how wonderful it is, how great it is. And then you're gonna get out there, you're gonna hook up that black hose, it's not gonna hook right, you're gonna open that tank and you're gonna have that, what was that camping show with?
Robin or me.
RV, yeah, it's not pretty, so, you need some people that have the experience. Yeah, on this task force to,
Great.
Take volunteers.
volunteers.
We would gladly, we'd love that guidance. And like you said, it was refreshing first time. You don't get everything that you want. We appreciate the 2 meetings and the feedback. And again, what we hope to do is give you the information to make an educated choice. Let us start small if it's something that's working and we want to go through the process. It'll help us learn, and the goal is to bring as many people to Egg Harbor City as we can and not lose, that revenue long term.
What is your ultimate goal if this does work out?
We don't have one yet. So that would be based on the information that we gather. And then, of course, going through that process, I don't know what the limitations are. We're working with, Pinelands on different things right now. We have a great partner at Fox Laurel Child, a great partner at Colliers Engineering. And so we're preparing, as we deal with other things and prep for the hotel. I've been with this organization since November 12th. And it's about doing the due diligence and making the decisions and being really careful with our money. We have 2 great owners. I don't know if you know their story. They have 10 natural children. And we have 2 owners that, live very lean. We've kept a ton of employees on over the winter. We write checks for, 400 to 500 families. And they really feel like they have a mission, not only for guests, but for the employees too. We have 3 virtues in our company. It's joy, humility, and ministry. And every week, Wednesday is usually the day. So on Wednesday, everybody gets together in the whole company and they support our employees well. And, they're just trying to create that guest experience. There's a development that I know is happening, very close to here, where they're going into the same type of area on 50 acres. And they want to do stuff like for the guest experience out in the woods, in the trails and going through it. So, for the investment that was put there, and I only found out about that today, we think that there's a need for it, or a want for it, So, we're excited to see if we can, make it work and if there's a big interest in going through. And again, to be careful of that investment, to start small, work the problems out, like you talked about, so that we can just make a good decision moving forward.
Regarding your time, are you looking to do this as a seasonal thing, a year-round thing?
So I believe we'd like to do it for 6 months. Is that correct? We'd like to do this pilot, for 6 months
Mhm.
and just get started. And, wedding season usually ends somewhere, at the end of October. But, for whatever part we can capture, we'd like to get out and then we can plan over late fall and winter and just see if it's something that we want to get deeper into. So that's the goal.
And have you, two-part question, have you visited other campgrounds to look at, I guess you could say seasonal sites? With that being said, if you have or have not, if you have you taken notice to how seasonal sites build their sites out with decking and stuff like that? Is that something that you would explore aesthetically with these campers or not?
I don't think we would do any additional building at this time. So I have not been. Some people in our group have. I've been working down in Maryland and up at LDI National. I came home with, along with supporting our owners down here. So this would be, one of the first projects that I would be assisting them on down here. But I know people in our group have, they say the same thing. They've asked me the same question. I said, no, last time I went camping, I had to borrow a truck. Had to go to the store and get everything. There was no cafe to look for. There was, nothing for us to go to. And I'll bet you for 2 days of camping, it was 5, 4 days of prep and work and, going through it. And, the kids need a million things, load the coolers and go through it. So, I don't have that experience, but some people do. I think it's a great idea as we do this to ask for some guidance from some people who did. And again, we're a humble group, so we don't think we know everything. That's why we want to do it. And our GM, Kevin McCarty, last week he went back. He said, if this goes, this is what we need. We put a task force together to answer all those small questions. So that stuff's very helpful.
I have to, just talking about seasonal camping. I didn't get the impression at the land use board that you were going to do seasonal sites. Is that something that?
What do you think?
I don't think you mean seasonal sites
Oh,
like to
okay.
rent out. I think you mean seasonally, like just.
Yeah.
Someone
Yeah.
check out.
It's just really not, like, what you're going.
No, I think for, till the end of wedding season is what we're looking at. And does wedding season begin in April, March?
I mean, technically, if we were gonna do it for the 180 days, we're behind the 8 ball because, we need to get the task force and planning and, Donna made great points and we need to understand a lot of things and, we need to go, so,
Seasonal in our campground means that we have families that rent the whole season.
Okay.
That's one.
No,
yeah,
this would be individual guests who would come out according to the events that we have, but there would be no opportunity for one person
Okay.
to stay there. So it would just be to help with the guest experience, keep families together. We're in the wedding business, we have a good restaurant, there's a lot of golf. But we think that this would be a good opportunity to be there. I know with 3 young boys, they play football, they wrestle, and they lacrosse right now. So I like the idea of being able to get out and throw the football and just be outside and not be in separate hotel rooms. I do. That's something that would appeal to me. And again, that's what the owners are about. They're about guest experience. And we've made a tremendous investment in Reno, and we're continuing to do that. And Kevin, how many weddings did we have last year?
330 last year.
We had 330 weddings last year. So they're doing things well. And it's because they're passionate about it and they're passionate about that guest experience. Again, this isn't money making for us here. It's a pilot so that we make wise decisions and we're able to give you some data moving forward. Any other questions?
What's the estimated start date to actually have the program underway?
So if you said, okay, run the pilot, tomorrow morning, we would put the task force together and the start time would be after we could make educated decisions and make all the answers and know that we were in place. So, that's something that we would start.
And just to be clear, this will be on areas that are already cleared.
Already there.
I think it's a very interesting idea.
Can I provide a little context to how we got to here?
Sure.
All right, so Renault reached out a couple weeks ago now and said, we have this idea, we're interested in this, but we're not sure if we can market for it. What would the process be? And explains, well, if you wanted to advance this as an actual development project, you're probably a year to 18 months at least You're gonna need site plans, surveys, you're gonna need to prepare a full set of plans, come into the planning board, go to Pinelands. It'd be a very lengthy and involved process. So as we talked through it a bit, I said, all right, well, these campers are not permanent structures. There's no, as long as there's no clearing, grading, permanent disturbance, new impervious surface, permanent utilities, anything that would be considered construction or disturbance that would trigger Pinelands regulations. I think that the city would have the latitude to be able to offer them a temporary window to just try it out. Sort of the comparable came up was the food truck that we let go at Route 34. There's no plans, there's no, it's sort of outside of what the ordinance envisions. So it's just an opportunity to give them a chance to try it out, see how it goes. If it goes really well, then they have to go back and meet with their engineer and get those plans in and get a use variance application together. And if it doesn't, then they just pack it all up, restore everything to the way it was, and there was nothing there. So that's sort of how we got here and why it's framed in 180 days. And
Anybody else have any comments or questions?
I have one question.
Sure.
Are these Airstreams that are you going to lease these Airstreams and then rent them out for short periods of time? Is that what the idea is?
So we've looked at bullets and Airstreams, and we'll get a final answer to how we're gonna do that once we go back. If it's something that you guys want to investigate along with us, then that's what we'll do. Don't have a.
My question is the people aren't going to come in with their own vehicles, are they?
Oh, no, we're gonna provide, we're gonna do the entire setup. And I think our goal is to buy, we have multiple properties. But again, a final decision will be made by RGM and our owners once we know what direction we're gonna do the investigation. If we do that, then they'll make a decision. But yes, they'll be set up and they'll stay there. Nothing will be moved in and out.
And a total, how many units you said?
We're looking for 2 sites of 5 units,
So 10 vehicles?
10 total.
Okay. And your length of stay is how long?
I don't know the answer to that.
It would be up to the individual renting?
Yes, and I think depending on, weddings, a lot of people come in on a Thursday. Do they stay to that Monday? But that's not something I know very much.
but I think the intent is not to rent them long term. It's just a week
Oh,
at
no.
a time or less.
That's it. Yeah.
Basically a hotel on wheels with a fire pit.
Yes.
Just some additional rooms that are outside.
Right. That's what we always say. We take our hotel with us. We knew we slept in our bed last night,
The need is to turn it over with 330 weddings, to turn, weekly, to get new families in there. Plus you have to go in, you have to clean, you have to do all that stuff.
One last question, and then I'll just finish with a final comment. With these sites, will you be installing, supplying any kind of barbecue, grilling, anything like that?
So on the Airstreams or the bullets, they all have propane flip outs
Yes, I know that. Yeah.
that we've looked at. And, so I think that that's one area. I think that having community grill, something that, each campsite could use, it's a possibility.
Okay. I think it's a great idea. You're gonna bring people into your facility, and at the same time, those people are gonna be able to experience the camping life.
Yeah.
Which could push them into the camping life after that. That's how I got started.
Okay.
Yeah. The 3 of us are campers along with Councilman Antonisi, who is in here tonight. So we're fully experienced with the camping world and glamping world, whatever you want to call it. I personally, it's a great idea for you as the establishment and for the municipality and for those that come to visit to experience that outdoor living, to say the least. So,
I'm new to the areas. Kevin told me there's a lake here,
yes.
Literally right behind
Now,
your
can
property.
anybody go to the lake? Can anybody go and have access to that if they get a pass or something like that?
Yes.
You guys have a badge system or a
Yes.
badge system like the beach?
Yes.
Okay. That's nice too.
Mhm.
We have one of the best lakes in Atlantic County.
Kevin mentioned it to me,
We do have the best lake.
and when you're new, you don't get to see all this stuff.
I can see
He
a
said,
bad.
he said these people would love to use the lake property too. You
And
know,
that's something that should be incorporated in.
he said they love to use
We
the
have a
lake.
campground with our lake. Our
Okay.
lake is campground behind us, where we do all campers.
Okay. So that's the GM's decision.
So, twofold, either we're gonna drive them back there, it's glamping, so they might not wanna drive themselves. Or we, obviously we have the use of the golf course, those people. When it gets dark out, they can use the golf course to go back and forth. Obviously, we have the pool, the restaurant, you talked about, grilling, it's glamping, so, they don't wanna wait for two people in the bathroom, they can come inside and use facilities, they can use the, the hotel, they can use, the pool and things like that, so we really just wanna make it a phenomenal guest experience, but really give people a snapshot of what Egg Harbor City has to offer with the lake and, just the trails and stuff. I mean, there's a nice cool trail down Raymond, takes you right to the lake, so families can just walk right to the lake and have a great little experience, so we're excited about it.
Yeah, great idea.
Maybe we can work
Um,
together,
I hope so.
because we actually, someone wanted to put the kayaking.
Yeah, you can actually kayak from that bridge going towards the lake, from there all the way to the river, right, Mike? So if they have kayaks, which they might not. if they're not.
For winning.
Yeah.
You never know, they may be experienced campers.
Yeah.
Either way, we're grateful for the two audiences. We're grateful for the feedback. We hope to be in the next year. We're trying to continue to grow now. Thanks for your time. We know we're not going to get every idea. We know we have the support. When I came in, I said, "It's a municipality, it's great communication. Everybody communicates with you. They have to weigh what's best for their group. And hopefully this will give you the information that making a permanent decision going forward will allow you." So on behalf of Renault, my GM Kevin McCarty, owners Josh and Melanie McCown, thank you.
Yeah. Feel free to hang out for a couple of minutes. Mayor, you have any thoughts or comments you want to finish up with?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. We've discussed it pretty thoroughly at the land board, and I think it's would fit nicely into their business out there. I mean, you have all kinds of different stuff, I think it would be a real experience. I would do it, and I don't really.
You're not a clamper.
I would get you. But I have to have a golf cart.
Anybody else on the council have any?
I think it's a great idea. I love what Renault's done so far since they took over. We use the facility quite a bit. And I'm excited to see this pilot program start.
Anybody else?
I'm the same. I think it's awesome. And if I don't have any business cards with me, but my name and number is on the website. So if you have any questions, you need any help, I'd be happy to come and help out. I'm sure Joe, in a couple of months, would be happy to help out. Give us, like I said, we've been camping, I've been camping my entire life. So, and my husband has too. So it's, something that we will never stop doing.
Thank you for that.
I just want to say, I think it's also a really good idea. I may not be a camper, but I, like the mayor, wouldn't mind trying it. I think it would be a great.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, I have a question if, for the council. It sounds like we want to approve this. It sounds like a good idea. But can we get everything in writing, maybe in a letter signed by the city and the applicant, stipulating the length of time and exactly what he wants to do there?
Yeah, Ryan, you have the proposal, correct?
Yeah, we got a little written sort of blurb of what they want.
I send it out.
Well, I have that too. It's in the packet. It was in the packet, what they want to do, but, it doesn't say it's for 6 months. It doesn't say it's, 10 units and all that stuff. So if we could get all that in writing, I'd be happy to say yes to that idea. I'm not a camper. My idea of camping is a weekend at the Four Seasons. So you guys have more experience with the camping experience, but it does sound like a fun idea for a family or, couple to get away for the weekend. But again, I would like to see it in writing. So we just protect the city in case you never know what's going to happen. I would just like to have some kind of a contract or at least a letter signed.
I think you guys can do is
I think we can vote for it, subject to your final review.
Well, we've done the review.
Actually, Ryan, in the, what you just pulled up, does it not say 180 days?
Yeah, and the Renault glamping pilot program 2023 for 180 days. So if you'd like to do a resolution, I'm okay with a resolution just approving Renault do their test program and then for them to come back if they are in fact doing the program with something more concrete.
With the understanding there's no clearing, grading, permit service.
Yeah.
Impervious services, et cetera.
We okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. So I was gonna open it up if anyone wants to make a motion.
Make that. Second.
All right. Roll call?
Clark,
Yes.
Dash,
Yes.
Galloway,
Yes,
Heist,
Absolutely.
Hesse,
Yes.
Timbers,
Yes.
Ritchie.
Good luck with it, yes.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it.
Yep. All right, moving on. Council motion to approve the minutes from April 13, 2023.
I'll make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody from the public have any comments on any agenda item? Once, twice, all right, Mayor, the floor is yours for your report.
Okay, first of all, I think, I did tell all the council, we did get $400,000 from Small Cities Grant to make the ADA improvements at the lake. So that's a very significant thing that we're fortunate enough to get, thanks to Triad and Ryan working together to make that happen. And that's wonderful. We also got the $63,000 recreation grant for ADA playground equipment, and we're gonna start on that, look, surveying that soon to see where we can put it. We're also with the NPP looking into looking into a $249,900 grant to complete the Archway Green. And that is one of the services that he provides because he is our co-coordinator, I guess you call it, of the grant. So he, during the meetings that they have, they present grants to the municipalities to do. So he's gonna try for that, and then we can get hopefully the Archway Green finished instead of making it piecemeal in 3 years. So just keep our fingers crossed on that. What grant was that?
Oh, another NPP? Okay.
It was an NPP, right? What, do you know what the name of the grant
I
was?
don't remember. The grant was. The NPP was working towards it, but I don't remember the source.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But just for context, it's the empty lot. and stuff like that.
Beautiful plan.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
One thing I don't know if you were bringing up, Ryan, we did get the 2023 chapter 170 land use comprehensive management plan. We don't have to do any further review on that.
Yeah, that was Pine Lands telling us that they take no exception to the ordinance they made us adopt, so.
And there's also another grant that Triad is looking into, maybe in the next, we talk about it more, that I think we talked about it, to try to get the equipment that Public Works needs to do the tree trimming and taking care of our street trees. I would like to see us take care of our forested blocks too, that are totally disgraced because of the invasive plant species that are killing the trees and gonna fall on somebody's house someday. But remember, we have a contract with Triad to do these grants, and they did come back with a price for $3,700. So I don't know, Nanette, did you want to talk any more about that?
yes, please. We're recommending that we apply for this US Forest Service Urban Community Forestry Grant. The minimum you could ask for is $100,000 and the maximum is $50 million. So we can actually apply for a lot of money to maintain our streetscape, our trees for the next 5 to 10 years. I've been attending webinars. I attended 3 so far on this grant. The webinars are not that great. They keep telling you they're going to answer your questions, but they never do. It's pretty involved. So I think you know, using Triad to apply for the grant would be beneficial. The grant can cover, you know, some of the ideas I had is to, we're not going to be able to buy a lift. You can't spend over $5,000 for any equipment, but they encourage you to lease any equipment that you need. So I don't know if there are companies around here that we could establish a relationship with, that we could lease when we need to have the guys go out and do trimming on the low branches or whatever, but that could be included. I would also would like to see us find a match to our road grants when we get them, when we do a paving of a road. And I know I talked to Ryan about this previously, that there's really not enough money in that at a $200,000 state grant to cover replacing the trees or taking down the trees or and so forth. So we might be able to put ask for money to match those grants over the next couple of years when we do road projects. We really need to sit down and come up with a plan of what we want to do with our trees. So I'd like to meet with Ryan and Keith and maybe Jody or the mayor or whoever else would be interested in attending to hammer out a plan. The grant application is due June 1st, so we really can't delay on doing this. And I also, it's $1 billion funding through the Inflation Reduction Act that is nationwide. But before they opened it up to municipalities and so forth to apply, they sent money to the states, and New Jersey got $11 million. So I talked to our state forester, Brian McDonald, today and discussed it briefly with him, and he encouraged us to apply for both grants. Apply for the federal grant now, and then when the state decides what they're going to allow the money to be used for, then we could apply again, and there's no restriction on applying for both grants. What else did he say? He said, that's pretty much it. There was one other thing, I couldn't remember what it is. But it's a wonderful program. Oh, I know what it was. The majority of the money in both grants are being reserved for overburdened communities, and we are listed as an overburdened community. So it's the money is for towns like ours. So I think it's a good thing. I would ask the council to approve the $3,750 for Triad to prepare the grant application.
Well, I can tell you one thing, that Jake would not do the grant if he didn't think we were going to get it. He would tell you, you don't have a chance, this isn't for you, so.
Yeah, no, I think we do have a good chance of getting it. That's the other discussion I had with State Forester McDonald, is that they know us. They know we've gotten to UFC grants in the past. They know, they awarded us last year. They gave us that beautiful plaque for our efforts to preserve our street trees. So, there's a good chance that if we don't get the federal grant, there's a good chance we can get the state grant.
Okay, thank you. Taking into consideration everything Councilwoman Galloway has told us and the cost, is there any comments or questions that anybody want to make a motion to apply?
I make a motion to apply.
Have a second for it?
I'll second.
All right, roll call.
We could put something in the budget for it, but we probably need to think about, obviously, there's gonna be more grants that'll come up with Triad throughout the year, so we probably wanna put some money in, either, I don't know, when we have an economic development that we have really kind of make that sort of our, I should say, slush fund, but that can kind of be, miscellaneous, if we're gonna apply for grants and things like that, we should be, put some funds in there, so that way when something comes up during the year, we have a place that we can see. Basically, something great and they'll come back, but we do have to have a mechanism to pay for it.
Roll call, please.
Clark,
Yes.
Dash,
Yes.
Galloway,
Yes,
Heist,
Yes.
Hesse,
Yes.
Timbers,
Yes.
Ritchie.
Yes.
And then Jody and I intend to the health insurance fund meeting this morning, and to talk about possibly going to a private company to ensure our employees, the health benefits. And it sounded very good. I took notes, but I'm not gonna take the time to go over it. If anybody has any questions, you can certainly call me or Jody. But the only concern Jody and I had were the, what would you call them?
It's like the provider
The
network.
provider network. So basically, the company uses these providers, they kind of rent them. Isn't that what they were saying?
Kind of, they make like agreements.
Yeah, they make agreements with them. And well, the ones that come to my mind were Aetna and America. And we had that before, years ago. And what were the other ones? Judy?
Those were the two that they mentioned.
They had like a whole group of them.
Oh, I couldn't see the big page.
Yeah, and a whole group of them.
Okay, but the two they mentioned in the beginning is. They don't- Horizon can't because
Right.
basically Horizon is the state health benefits name thing, so it would kind of be like. Yeah, exactly, so that's kind of why Horizon, so that's the only potential barrier, everything else really, I thought sounded, sounded good, and there's really no reason not to explore it, and then if it works, it works, if it doesn't.
Well, since you guys are considering private, remember when we had a presentation, yeah, and they had blood insurance on there, the brokers.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, they were brokers. They made me have the.
Into it.
No,
Our
I mean,
broker, I'm pretty sure was on the phone.
Yeah.
And I know when we first heard that the state health benefits was going up so much, and they kind of started looking for us just on the private side to see if it would be something that made sense for us to just go off on. And I know they were looking at some of those, so I don't think that they're completely against, looking into those as providers. They just would have to make sure that it's pretty.
But
consistent.
you did put out requests for people to give us bids and nobody did.
Right, well, the ones that they got that were just private were higher, and then the current HIP, like not I don't think it was the one that presented today, there's other HIPs that they had declined to.
So their increase, from what I understood, was one for the coastal fund, which we would is 2.8% a year increase. And I think on average, I think it was 1.6.
Yeah, I thought he said their average was 2 something, like he said
2.7.
actually some years went down,
Yeah,
because they really, it's a lot like with liability insurance, Chip, where basically you're really analyzed on your own claims and your own experience, so it's not like the state where whatever is kind of spread out amongst everybody. So here it's, if you have a good year, you're getting rewarded for your, there is a general increase based for everybody, but if you guys have a great year, yours will go down, so your overall. And they do have dividends if they have a great year and you get money back, so, there are positives to it.
You can go in at any time. You don't have to wait till whatever.
You wouldn't have to wait for the county to decide if they wanted to put or anything. So, flyer, so.
So there's a checklist that the county's gonna send out, and then hopefully we can give them what they need and we can get a price from them. as to how
It
much.
sounded pretty simple, like a detailed bill.
Yeah, so
And I think the experience that we have to provide, we actually had just gotten that anyway, you can get it for free every 2 years. So I think we just got ours, so that we wouldn't be quoting it, so I think I should have everything that they need to quote, so it should be.
for us, it will be claim experience, detailed copy of the bill, of which to month premium.
Yeah,
And I think there might be more, but Jerry said he was gonna.
okay, yeah, but it's.
And let's see, anything else on that? There's no cost for review and data analysis. So it's, something to look into. So, like Jody said, it's based on your community, not just the flat rate that everybody pays. So we might make out good on that. And then just the last thing, last time we talked about someone being on call in the summertime for lake issues. And he did give me a proposal for that. It's it would basically be the current contract payout for on-calls, which is $135 a week. The called-in overtime rate is already in the contract. The benefit of keeping an employee on call so the city has coverage for storms, lake, police assistance, etc. Benefit of continuing the rotational coverage is that the city gets 24/7 coverage for the same price, weekly price, no matter if the highest paid or the lowest paid employee is on call. Also, the contract spells out the pay and no charges need to be made. And how it works is the same as it works in the water treatment plant. On call will be weekly, starting Friday at 3:30 and ending the following Friday at 3:30. With each employee's working, taking 1 week at a time. So he states at the bottom, in the utility, we went out our weeks on a calendar year in advance. So if there was any issue, they could switch around. Keith, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I mean, I just was asked by council president to come back with something, so it's basically, to dumb it down is a continuation of what we're doing now. And like I said, the benefit is, whether it's myself or Raymond, someone that's been here a while, or a new employee, you're paying the same rate, so it's not like it's up and down like it was in the utility. So that's the benefit of it.
So something to consider. I don't know if you want to take that back to committee or whatever. I'll give you the plan. And then Angela, do you have any idea when we're getting the Comcast equipment here?
Kim asked me that last night, so I sent the email over. For yeah.
Okay.
As soon as I hear, I'll let everybody know.
And that's all I have. Sorry.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the committee chair reports. As of this time, I have nothing for finance or safety. Councilwoman Heist for highway.
Yeah, Keith and I did interviews last night for Public Works. Everybody knows, we had an employee retire and we have one full-time employee and our 2 seasonal full-time employees moving to the water company when the water company goes through. So therefore, we feel that we need to bring in 2 people to cover the position that the 4 people are going, since we no longer have a utility company. We interviewed last night and there are 2 very promising potential candidates that we interviewed that we feel would fit into the Public Works very well. So we just needed to pass that by you guys, see if you feel that 2 is necessary. Keith, anything on?
No, I think that we've got 2 people that could potentially be here from start to finish with us. One is local, lives in town, been here his whole life. One is from a neighboring town, but has some familiarity with Egg Harbor City and works for a company in Egg Harbor City. And they both seem very promising, both seem interested, both seem willing to jump in and learn
And experienced.
and experience.
And I have to say, we're quite fortunate to have applications for those positions because I told you months ago that there's a real shortage in public works. And I think given that some people may be retiring soon, or whatever the case may be, I think we should jump on it and hire them because we really do need it. We just can't. I don't see how 4 people can do what they have to do. Actually, 3, because he was supposed to be supervisor, superintendent, and for him to be out on the road every single day, which he would have to do, and cutting grass and things like that, he's not going to be able to fulfill the responsibilities that he has to fulfill in the state. And
Are these 2 permanent full-time employees or one's considered temporary at this time?
One temporary, one full- both
full-time. It's pay scale.
There's a starting,
It's an-
there's a starting rate in the contract. I don't have it.
So what we'll do is we'll have a finance committee meeting and I'll discuss it there, bring it back to the next meeting, first week in May. First meeting in May. And then we'll take it from there to have them hired, hopefully, and in place by June 1st.
Yeah, that would be the goal. We expressed to them that they wouldn't be here before June 1st.
Right.
And that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Dash, code.
Sure.
Code department has a code official that's still out on medical leave. He's doing better. He got some good news today, but he'll still be out a bit longer. We have interviewed and agreed to hire an additional part-time code official to assist in the regular duties of the code department while that employee is still on leave and to retain the new employee after his return. The department has been somewhat understaffed due to the new inspection requirements implemented by the state of New Jersey. So the spot needs to be filled. This will give us 3 part-time code officials, whereas we used to have 1 full-time and 2 part-time. Being code enforcement official is not an easy position to have. People complain when their neighbor's grass is too high, and then those people complain when they get a notice that their grass is too high. Code officials must answer not only to the public, but to city officials that direct them to specific properties for enforcement. Oftentimes, situations seem to remain unresolved as the case is delayed in court. We live in a small town and we have a very diverse group of residents. While many people are financially secure, others find it hard to make ends meet. While some residents are retired and have lots of time to maintain their properties to impeccable standards, others may be working long hours and find it hard and difficult to keep up as much as they would like to. As chair of the code committee, I always try to stress that our number 1 step is to help our neighbors where we can. While there are times that code officials need to write warnings or tickets, the first contact should always be simply talking to the resident. And I commend our city employees for their dedication to the residents of Egg Harbor City. Lastly, if your neighbor's grass is getting high, maybe think about offering to help if possible prior to calling and complaining to the city. Help that senior in your neighborhood that might need a little extra help. Shovel their walkway when it snows, etc. Egg Harbor City is a small town, but a town we can all work together and do better.
Thank you.
Could I ask Steve a question?
Sure.
Steve, I just wanted to know, they're going to hire him on right after, there isn't going to be anything put out to get other people for the position when Steve does come back or does not come back? You're basically.
I don't understand the question.
Okay, what I'm asking you is, I was under the understanding this was just a temporary position for this gentleman. And that when Steve came back,
This is considered a temporary position. However, our intention is to bring him in as part-time after Steve returns. And that information was based on, that decision was based on speaking with the mayor and also speaking with Don Heffley from the building department as far as the actual need. So I think we will actually need 3 part-time code enforcement people.
but is he going to get certified? Because he isn't certified, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, you don't have to be certified for code, but he did agree that he would go to the zoning and he would get certified.
But can he sign the paperwork or anything?
For code enforcement, you have to do the code
He
position.
can do everything to code without having a certification?
That's correct.
Oh, that wasn't my understanding.
Mayor, you have any?
Yeah, zoning is separate.
Yeah.
While we're on that topic, do we have an interim solution or anything in mind?
Next week, right? Yeah, well, I did the ordinance to
Okay.
do an alternate in case of extended vacation or illness. I put in 2 weeks or more. For the city.
And I did speak to our zoning officer, and he is doing better. And he got good news today. He's hoping to be back soon. But even when he's back, I think we're still gonna need that extra for the person.
Yeah.
There's additional inspections that they need to do now, and we're coming into the busy season of the grass study.
And if you looked at what Angela said, zoning officer spends, I think, 21 hours a week on zoning.
Actually, it has on 22 at
Okay. So that's a lot. I mean, so now we have
That's for
him
both.
and,
Zoning and code.
yes.
So-
Now they have lead inspections too, they have to do. That's.
Well, now I think the lead inspections, we're going to go on shared service agreement with the county.
Well, I have the zoning that what Steve had given us from November, December, and January. It's 39 for the month of November, 37 for the month of December, and 16 for January. That's for zoning. And in the field for code is 6 November, 11 in December, and 5 in January. So, it's a lot, but for a full month, it's not that,
So in the interim between now and the next meeting, Donna has 4 zoning applications sitting on her desk that are in my inbox that I'm not going to take any lot of action. So if you want me to review those and sign them in the interim until we have an ordinance, I can do that. If not, I can sit for another 2 weeks.
How long do they sit before they're approved anyway?
Normally Steve reviews them
But isn't the law like 20 days, 21 days, they don't even need approval.
Well, right, that's the other complication.
Yes.
If you don't review them and act, they're automatically approved.
So is it legal for Ryan to do that?
We could authorize him to do that. Yeah.
That's an assumption.
I have no problem with that if you're willing to do that.
Yeah. I just-
So real quick, we'll make, somebody make a motion to approve Ryan as a temp.
I'll second.
I have a question before you vote here. I have no problem with Ryan doing the zoning for the next couple weeks until the zoning officer comes back. But I really have concerns about hiring somebody for code enforcement who has no experience. And I understand the person that you're looking at hiring is not an official code enforcement officer. The other thing I object to is hiring someone when the position was not advertised. I checked the city website and there is no advertisement that we were looking for a code enforcement officer on there. The only thing there is for, I think you have class 2 officers, lake supervisor, and public works, I think. There's nothing on there that we were looking for a code enforcement officer. And I think with the problems that we have in the city, I agree with Steve that we do need somebody, a third person in that department for sure. But I think we should really consider looking at sharing a service with another municipality who has someone who's got all the credentials to act on the behalf of the city. So that's what I have to say about hiring. I think that's a resolution coming up next, right? So that's my comments on that, so.
Then the last 2 people that were in those part-time positions, and one was a full-time position, they had no experience in code. It's not a statutory that I know of, Angela, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
I thought it was actually, I'm gonna double check, but I thought they needed to have a certification.
So
there
the
to
past
do
2 people that were there,
it. It doesn't mean the
Well,
mountain.
I think it depends on what that person is doing. If it's the uniform construction code, they need to be certified. And there are organizations that provide the certification training and so forth. I am not sure. I'm looking at the Civil Service Commission job description for code enforcement officer, and it doesn't say that they need to be certified. But certification is different than being experienced. I mean, the fellow you're hiring has no experience as a code enforcement officer.
There is someone that comes out and does inspections for construction. Right, he has
we have
construction
it
there.
there.
Is someone who comes out and does inspections for fire and
Yeah.
like.
Electrical.
Electrical.
And mechanic.
And right now, we're down to one part-time code official. And it's putting a huge amount of pressure on this one part-time employee.
Oh, I know, I can imagine.
Stopgap.
And we were losing him, and I pulled old applications and,
We had applications on file, right?
yeah, so. Donna was desperate and we pulled old applications from the last time. And reached out to people in the area that were,
Kind of application on file.
I did look into the shared services, but I stopped because I figured we had somebody.
Honestly, if we had called like neighboring municipalities in the past when people have left, all these people are so, they're short, like staffed already. They don't wanna, we've called, every single time someone gives you a call on their base, we try. And so no one defends neighbors. They're in the same position. They honestly, they don't, no one wants to do it. Yeah, they don't,
They have one person.
And
yeah.
we really can't complain that not enough code enforcement is going on. And not put somebody in place to help alleviate.
And by paying so much, like, honestly, we're not paying more than if we had a shared service. Didn't have any way, but we have tried several times, take some positions. They just don't have the staff, it's not even that they're not interested, they really don't have the staff to share.
So we're just gonna roll this person over, basically. When Steve comes back, he's still gonna stay in the position.
Well, we can discuss it
as needed.
as needed. It's an at-will employee.
Right.
And I believe the resolution states the city reserves the right, correct? Angela, is that what we're doing?
Zoning,
That was,
ordinance,
Yeah,
zoning ordinance we currently have.
no, they, what we're doing tonight, then we put in there for the
Oh,
hiring.
yeah, right, part-time temporary.
Yeah, so we reserve the right one.
Exactly.
Yes.
Oh, I
Well, we
definitely,
discussed it
I
last
think
night
we
that
need somebody now, I definitely.
whether Steve comes back or not, we have to revisit very shortly.
Okay. That's just my issue, I just want to make sure we revisit.
our other offices, we want to leave to the.
All right, so
It's a
again,
difficult job. It's a very difficult job.
backtracking to, do we have a motion and a second to name Brian as the interim?
Yes, that's done.
Okay,
I just want to roll. Did I get roll? Want to roll?
yes, please.
Yeah. Clark? Yes. Dash,
Yes.
Galloway,
What's this for?
Brian, engineer.
Brian?
Yes. I mean, it's not.
Heiss,
Yes.
Hesse,
Yes.
Timbers,
Yes.
Richie.
Yes. Boom, are you done? I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Antonisi is not here. Anybody from Property and Parks have anything?
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Councilman Wright is not here. Anybody have anything for utility? All right. Councilwoman Clark, license and ordinance.
We had an ordinance meeting yesterday. We did some amendments to the junk vehicle ordinance, which should be ready hopefully by the next meeting. We also reviewed some of the late rules and added a provision there or a couple provisions under the prohibited activities, which would be music louder than that can be heard beyond the picnic tables, vehicular traffic by the new trails that are gonna be in place. And what was the third one?
Only two.
It was only two. All right, so those were the only two that we did. So it was the music and the vehicular traffic, aside from emergency vehicles to be able to access the new nature park trails. Junk vehicle, we went through Lake Rule. We also discussed having a plan together for any extended absence of a code enforcement officer. And we're gonna be working on that as well. And speaking with Councilwoman Galloway, we are gonna be looking into creating an ordinance for the street trees and kind of building from there to help us be more eligible for a lot of these grants, these nature grants. And that's it.
Thank you. Councilman Timbers, anything for land use or Aaron Hayden?
Nothing for Aaron Haven, land use, we have to take resolution.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Clark, anything for school board?
Nothing for school board, just their budget meeting is on May 3rd at 7 p.m. at the elementary school.
Meg, anything for Jim?
No, just that the mayor touched on.
All right. Councilwoman Hesse, anything for Roder?
Just that the Riley program, I talked about last council meeting, has found their recipient. The Mays Landing in Harbor City Rotary is sponsoring Abigail Clapp from Cedar Creek for their Riley Leadership Program this year. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilwoman Galloway, you have anything for sustainable?
Yes, I have a couple things here. I just wanted to let everybody know that we're coming to the end of our investigation and for our $25,000 energy planning grant. And we've been having monthly meetings with the people from Sustainable Jersey. I understand Ryan and Jody will be finalizing some actions that we can take in the future. And hopefully we can have a public presentation about some of the actions at our June 22nd council meeting. Atlantic City Electric recently announced the resiliency and stewardship grants again. The application deadline for that is June 29th, and the Green Team is considering applying for another $5,000 grant to upgrade the trails at the lake. This time we were looking at doing the area around the Sybil Shallard gravesite, which is getting kind of shabby, but with some funding, if we get the grant, we can spruce that up, that area up a little bit. Also, the grant project that we, excuse me, are working on now, excuse me, should be finished by May 11th, I mean, by the Memorial Day. And Mike Sheridan is online here, and I'd ask him to give us a brief update on what's going on out there. We had discussed, keeping traffic off that trail, and because there's going to be gates put up. So I'm glad to hear the ordinance committee is going to put it into their ordinance revisions that we're going to introduce on May 11th. So if Mike is available for a quick update.
Yeah, he can update us in public comment.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
That's it. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Chief, you're up.
Good evening, everyone. Some quick numbers for you for the last 2 weeks. We had 1 burglary, 2 fraud reports, 1 robbery, 1 simple assault, 3 thefts, 10 motor vehicle accidents, 4 pedestrian stops, 27 traffic stops, for a total of, I don't think this number is right, 9 summonses issued. There were a total of 8 arrests, other incidents, 4 business alarms, 7 residential alarms, 102 crime prevention activities, 1 criminal mischief call, 8 domestic violence incidents, 18 EMS incidents, 2 new firearms ID applications, 24 follow-ups, 444 property checks, and 8 public service calls. Terms of training that we have done, we had our detective who will be starting to detect full-time, starting the middle of May. He went to an IA training on the 17th and 18th. We did have one of our officers participate in a countywide crisis intervention training. They are pulling people from each agency to help with the intervention training, as well as having officers from each department trained as crisis intervention officers. We have 1 officer who is in a defensive tactics course. He's going to be a defensive tactics instructor. Although that's one of my favorite things to do, I need to start delegating stuff. So I'm going to hand that over to Officer Rodriguez, who does have a history of experience in jiu-jitsu, and the new defensive tactics for through the PTC does have a lot of jiu-jitsu training, getting away from hits and strikes, and more compliant stuff. So he's very excited about that. We're very excited to have him doing that, and that's a 2-week course. So he's doing that. I'm very happy to say that Lieutenant Perna just finished up his final exam for the Emergency Manager 1. He got a 97 on his final exam. So we are very well in the class. So we'll be able to put some of that to very good use. Upcoming stuff we have 2 officers going for the alpha test certification. And that's what we have in the next upcoming few weeks. Things that have been going on. We had a Chiefs meeting on 4/18. I was not at the last meeting, but I will be talking to you guys about what we discussed at a previous meeting. We had our first elder fraud presentation put on by the FBI at Rittenberg Manor on Tuesday. It was a really great presentation that talked about how sophisticated victimization has become and what to look out for, and what to be aware of, and then how to report anything that has happened to you, and what the local municipalities can do, and then how the federal can be of assistance to us as well. Upcoming, we did have our class participation that we've been doing in the Edgeworth Community School. The last 2 weeks, we talked specifically about respect and empathy. On Monday evening, we had a coalition meeting that I attended. Upcoming stuff that we have going on, of course, on the 6th, it's citywide cleanup, which we will, of course, be out there serving burgers and hot dogs. Absolutely. I'll be out there. And then to tie in with what we had going on at one of our Chiefs meeting, on May 12th, we have a young gentleman named Alex Mann. He is autistic, and he goes around to various police departments to help educate officers about what it looks like to have autism and how we can better interact with folks when we do interact with anyone with autism. Chief Cunningham from Linwood did some research, and we as an association agreed to fund these envelopes that we have at each of our PDs. These are for drivers who are autistic. I have my thing passed down. In here, we recommend that anyone who is autistic put their vital documents in these envelopes. And on here, it has both instructions and recommendations for the autistic drivers and for officers to better deal with the situation. For example, it lets the drivers know when the officer gets to your car, tell them that you have a blue envelope, and the officer will tell you what to do next. Keep your hands on the steering wheel, let the officer know if you need to move body parts. Also giving warnings like they may shine a flashlight in your car, they may have radio and flashing lights in your car, and ask the officer to call your emergency contact if you feel overwhelmed or scared. On the back, it has specific stuff for the officers saying that the driver may exhibit signs of anxiety, either bright lights or radio noises. They may make repetitive body movements or fidgeting, known as stimming. They may not be able to make eye contact or may exhibit what seems to be like unusual facial expressions or noises. So these are things to help us interact better and understand better. So Alex will be here. He loves to tour the police departments. He's been to quite a few in New Jersey. He's coming here as well. So I think that coordinates quite well with this, and then having him come here and speak specifically to our officers. So that's what we've been up to. One thing that I have a question for council is, I don't know if you guys know that with the recent Mario Taruso case, there's been quite a bit of concern from law enforcement. Taruso was a gentleman who called the police in Hamilton Township in May of 2019. He was subsequently taken to the Orange County Jail where he died in custody. There's a lot of stuff going on. There were 3 jail officers who were charged with official misconduct. 1 was charged with aggravated assault, 2 were charged with manslaughter. The Hamilton Township officers were charged with official misconduct for not providing the appropriate medical care in terms of bringing him to the hospital, which brings me to my question. I know that there is a question about the renewal of the ambulance squad services for Egg Harbor City. I understand that there was maybe a bit of an impasse in terms of the numbers. I do believe that we are going to see a considerable increase in the number of EMS calls because officers now are afraid that anytime somebody exhibits any kind of duress from drug, anything like that, we will have to go to the hospital. We will have to take them to the hospital to get cleared before putting them to jail. So I understand that, there's always financial constraints, but I don't know that we will get any better service than from the Galloway Township ambulance squad. So please take that into consideration. I know that we are probably going to be addressing the whole issue situations countywide with the chiefs, because there is going to be a market increase of hospital runs for pretty much anybody who says, this hurts, I've taken something, because we're not going to run the risk of being indicted for not providing medical care. Unfortunately, I think that people try to use it to their advantage to avoid the subsequent incarceration. So just wanted to bring that to your attention because that's a pretty vital service. And Galloway Township has always done their ambulance squad has done a phenomenal job, and they work well with us and have provided us with any kind of assistance whenever we've asked them, even outside of the purview of their contract and coming here for just medical services. So any questions, concerns?
I think that was a very compelling discussion about the ambulance, and we will definitely take that to heart.
All right, thank you.
No, right?
Jody, you have anything?
No, I do not think.
Thank you. Meg, you have anything?
No.
All right, Angela.
Okay, so for your consideration tonight, I have resolution number 16, which I think it was at the last council meeting, you asked me to prepare something for the duties and responsibilities and the hours of the zoning and code enforcement officer. This temporary until we had our meeting to discuss what to do in the future. So this is the resolution. It's 22.5 hours. Every spelled out what Joni does and what the code enforcement officer does. And then also for your consideration, we have resolution number 18. This is the Ripley contract for the V-Track system. It's a no cost contract to the city. It's temporary and it has an app clause. So if it doesn't work out, we don't like it, things go amiss, you can always get out of it. if necessary. And then as a result of the ordinance meeting last night, there were 3 ordinances that the committee wanted me to prepare. One was the junk car. Kim had a question as to why it wasn't on this agenda because it wasn't publicly noticed and there was a revision. So I did prepare it and sent it to Meg. It'll be on the next agenda, as well as the lake park with the boys and the parking, and to allow the city engineer to look at zoning permits in case we have this absence in the future. As far as the tree ordinance that Ms. Galloway wanted me to review, I'm going to take a look at a bunch of tree ordinances for street trees, which are involved. And so I imagine they're going to take some time, and we'll take an opportunity in the future to look at those as well. And that's all. Thank you.
Any, excuse me, any questions for Angela? All right, Ryan,
Sure.
how you doing?
Thanks. Pretty good.
All right.
Contractors moving right along on 100 and 200 blocks of Chicago Avenue,
Mhm.
completing most of the curb work, most portion of the flat work. Expect to be moving over to Washington shortly. They're gonna want to pave both at the same time, so do all the concrete work first and circle back, right then the pave. We do have the grant for the reconstruction of the 100 and 300 blocks of Liverpool, so there's a proposal for the design of that shortly. We just got the notice today in the mail that the fiscal year 2024 municipal aid applications are open. They are due July 1st. So they'll have time, but we'll have to do the supporting resolutions and all that for them. We met with the solar developer previously. I sent them updated bills, and he emailed me again this morning. He said, "Please send the updated bills." Here they are again. I apologize. They're updating the proposal now. Let's see. Yeah, those are it's the only critical stuff at the moment. So we haven't talked to them.
You sent the application and finance for Northern Avenue?
Yeah, I got the sign application and everything.
Okay, and I brought this up a couple times the past year.
Mhm.
Any feedback with the lights, street lights, upgrades, costs and stuff?
No, and I just, I won't bet.
Okay. All right.
I saw the Safe Streets School come out, but why didn't we do that last year? The school needed to have some sort of plan. We
Yeah,
used to
so
use that grant a lot in years past.
you need student surveys from the school. And you need board resolution support and all that. And we reached out to the school pretty early on, and they said, "You get back to us at this time." And we reached back out to them, and they said, "Well, this time is really busy, it's not really great." I said, "Okay, well, it's now or never," so it became never. So we'll engage the district pretty much immediately if the district is interested in Safe Streets to School. Something that we should do for that, to improve the chance of that grant in the future, is to update the school travel plan. If your school travel plan is less than 3 years old and identifies specific needs, if you apply for them, you're probably going to do much. So we do have needs identified from our previous travel plan, but it's 11 years old now. So it doesn't factor in on the scoring in the application.
This might be something that could be brought up at a board meeting, that we go to one.
Community school.
Maybe you can make a pitch that we really need this money and the school really has to support. Maybe we can get together with Ryan.
Yeah,
And get a little more information and then hopefully get that rolling.
yeah, I get some information from the Cross County Connection. I mean, they have staff and they literally do everything. It just needs school's cooperation. Send out surveys to bring stuff into the classroom. Like you walk to school day, as an event. But they fund and do all of that for you. You just have to, get jump started and they'll take it from there. So I'll get you all those materials. It's good to get that back moving. Like I said, there were unmet needs that we identified 11 years ago, but which is not valid now.
Now, is this something from both schools that you need, from the community school and the elementary school? Yes.
Yeah, so it's single school district, so it really goes from the district.
So the superintendent.
I have a
Any other
question,
questions?
Brian.
Sure.
On the 100, 200 block of Chicago, are we gonna lose any trees through that project?
I'll be honest, I haven't looked at that part of the plans, but I was gonna say, I don't think we're taking any more than we already have. I think there was one that was just too unruly. The rest of them are getting tree plates, or didn't require anything.
Because we have another grant opportunity. It's a small grant of $2,500, but it might be enough to plant, 6 or 8 trees, 10 trees if we need them. I could
Yeah,
apply.
There are some gaps along 1 and 200 blocks where trees were removed previously, prior to completing the job, so I'm happy to work with you to try to figure out, spacing and species, so.
All right, great, thanks.
Sure.
I just please have 3 questions. How is the bike path going out for the lake? Still nothing, that's kind of next, pretty much.
No, they still have the funding, they're still moving forward, but my understanding is they keep hitting obstacles that take time. Like endangered species studies and things like that. So they reached out to me to see what I had on file. I wasn't able to locate anything. The city has a copy of a threatened endangered species that was done when the high school was constructed. So that will be helpful for them. But yeah, as far as I know, it's still.
Now, he's
churning
not
out.
when I-
Completely next.
No, when I, no, it's still going.
Yeah, no, you guys have
When
a
I talked to
significant
Mike
funding.
from CME, I think it's, I call him for updates all the time. He said that even if you do have a T&E, even if it's over 10 years old, they want it redone.
Yeah, agreed.
That's number one. And now they have an issue not with crop, but now it is an issue with a plant. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna do a spring study. And he said that they're hoping to go out to bid in the fall
For that study.
for the job, for the thing. I think that's
I like that optimism.
lofty, but a lofty goal, given what we have been going through.
Yeah,
But that's what he said, and that's what he said last year, that we're gonna go out in spring, so.
Yeah.
But it's still happening, we have 700,000, right?
yeah, that was
Plus
the
$1 million
initial
project.
allocation
How much
and
are we paying CME?
half a million.
Yeah,
Well,
I know, right,
technically DOT's paying $500,000.
yeah, not us, we got a grant to.
Yes, you got a grant to do the design. Well, yeah, I mean, we did get a proposal for that. It's far less than $500,000. Yeah, DOT has their like pool of engineers who are qualified for this design systems program. You guys got that, went that way, so you ended up having to not pay anything for the grant or for the design. At this point, you've got $1.3 million, and it's likely by the time they got the construction, they're gonna end up with 1.5, 1.8 million in DOT funding for this project.
And then I have one other question. It's something that's been brought up so many times. I just kind of want to hear it out loud.
Mhm.
As far as the K-turn, U-turn, all that, I just wanted to bring that up again. Did anything come of that? Because we have the ordinance, it's in the 360, but I don't think, I think it's null and void, is it not?
Yeah.
It's fine,
So
so that would be a Keith issue, I guess.
what's the result? I mean, is there or isn't
We have an
it?
ordinance.
So there is an
My
ordinance.
position is, chief executive approved it, I got a letter, so we're waiting for sign.
That's the key thing.
So
Another
there-
job for you.
So Levinson signed that saying that it's not,
Yeah, no, originally he signed off on, it. He sent me a letter saying he approved it. Then once we passed the ordinance, he said, oh, so maybe you shouldn't have done that. But so my position is he approved it and we're gonna get signed.
So there is no risky U-turn.
It is risky, but I'm comfortable with it. You're all comfortable with it.
Well, Marcel is the one that has to enforce it, so that's the whole.
Right.
Maybe the sign would be enough to deter that action. No.
Signs, you know.
I just want to be clear.
Appreciate the action.
So it's on the,
You can't do it.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to 14, a resolution to amend the salary resolution of 2023. Joe, do you want to touch on this?
Yeah, this was for the, we are adding in, we originally, we haven't really had this kind of issue in a long time, but, we only had one rate in there for a code enforcement officer, so when it was open, when the person was hired, currently in there. You know, people who have been in a job for a long time, so for anyone hired after May 1st, we obviously told that that's a job. So just to kind of avoid that, we kind of had done this in the past, we realized we kind of had the same issue with some of the crossing guards and things like that we've added in. So we basically added in a first year rate and then what someone will get after that. To try to make it
Do we have any other like positions left that need that?
I can look through there, I mean, it kind of happens, but yeah, I'll
Yeah.
try to look through and just make sure there's nothing else that, we'll come up with this again.
All right, I have a motion.
I make that motion, sorry.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Clark,
Yes.
Dash,
Yes.
Galloway,
Yes.
Heist,
Yes.
That was a yes.
Hesse,
Yes.
Timbers,
Yes.
Ritchie.
Yes. Number 15 is the resolution to hire the part-time employee code enforcement officer. There's no more questions, comments, and motion.
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Clark,
Yes.
Dash,
Yes.
Galloway,
For reasons previously stated, I'm voting no.
okay, Heist,
Yes.
Hesse,
Yes.
Timbers,
Yes.
Ritchie.
Yes. Number 16 is the resolution previously spoken of to delineate the hours, duties, and responsibilities of the zoning code enforcement officer. There's no more comments or questions. We have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Clark,
Yes.
Dash,
Yes.
Galloway,
I had a question. This was revised from what was distributed, is that right?
That's right, the 22.5 hours. And the half and half was also removed, that paragraph, otherwise it's intact.
So there's no split between the hours for code and zoning, right? Okay, thank you. Yes.
Heist,
Yes.
Hesse,
Yes.
Timbers,
Yes.
Ritchie.
Yes. Number 17 is a resolution approving the retro bereavement payment. If there's any questions or comments, I have a motion.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
roll call.
Clark,
Yeah.
Dash,
Yes.
Galloway,
Yes.
Heist,
Yes.
Hesse,
Yes.
Timbers,
Yes.
Ritchie.
Yes. 18 is a resolution authorizing the city to enter into an agreement for services with Bitly LLC for an electronic beach badge system. May I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Clark,
Yes.
Dash,
Yes.
Galloway,
Yes.
Heist,
Yes.
Hesse,
Yes.
Timbers,
Yes.
Ritchie.
Yes. Number 19 is a resolution to award of contract for vehicle maintenance and repair services contract period from May 1st of this year to April 30th of 25. No comments or questions. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
roll call, please.
Clark,
Yes.
Dash,
Yes.
Galloway,
Yes.
Heist,
Yes.
Hesse,
Yes.
Timbers,
Yes.
Ritchie.
Absolutely. Number 20 is a resolution to refund a down payment for 1109 White Horse Pike. Sale never took place. There's no questions or comments. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
roll call, please.
Clark,
Yes.
Dash,
Yes.
Galloway,
Yes.
Heist,
Yes.
Hesse,
Yes.
Timbers,
Yes.
Ritchie.
Yes. And last resolution is support of suitability of a state licensed cannabis business by Fireside Cannabis located at 118 White Horse Pike. Any comments or questions?
Who is the applicant here?
The building is the old Waddell's 118 Fireside.
Applicant is on the agenda, Fireside Cannabis,
Fireside is, okay.
and the location was,
118. It used to be Waddell's liquor store.
yeah, it used to be Waddell.
What else?
Yes,
Okay, all right, thank you.
you're welcome. Any more questions or comments? If not, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Clark,
Yes.
Dash,
Yes.
Galloway,
yes,
Height,
Yes.
Hesse,
Yeah.
Timber,
Yes.
Ritchie.
Yes. No motion to the bill.
So moved.
Second, roll call.
Clark,
Yes.
Dash,
Yes.
Galloway,
yes.
Height,
Yes.
Hesse,
Yes.
Timber, Ritchie.
Yes. Mayor, the floor is yours for any last comment.
Just one small thing, Meg, you know that there's a meeting for the lifeguard on the 9th.
Yes,
Does the JIF have to come like they did last year? Are they even aware of it?
they came to that meeting.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know they did.
It was like they had to do a presentation, I think, on ethics, is that a yearly thing?
I don't know.
And then,
Yeah.
the one with like blood and.
Oh, I can tell, I'm sure they'll
Like
attend.
word pathogens.
Jackie and I've been involved more than ever and we,
Yes.
And you're doing a great job.
yeah. But I'll certainly tell them about the meeting.
Okay, and you know, if they can make it, that would be great. Two birds with one stone, we're gonna get everybody together. But that's all I have, clean up to May 6th, so if you want to help out, I could be somewhere.
All right, Councilwoman Heiss,
I have nothing, thank you.
Councilman Dash.
Two things. Keith, I want to just mention 2 of your employees. We're cutting the city-owned lot on 400 Block Chicago Avenue. Did an exemplary job. We very much appreciated how thorough they were. It was great. And the other thing is, Chief, this is an awesome idea. I'm really thrilled to see this. So I got.
Councilman Timbers.
Thank you.
Yes. Councilwoman Hesse.
I just wanted to start out with saying congratulations to Lieutenant Perna for getting the 97. It's wonderful. And I also wanted to mention, if people don't know about this, Atlantic County residents over 60 may be eligible to receive transportation from the Atlantic County Transportation Utility Department. All they have to do is call, well, there are criteria, but if they call 609-645-5910, the woman on there a month or so ago, I spoke with her, she's wonderful. They will take you to grocery shopping, doctor's appointments, if you need different kinds of treatments, that's some of the things that they'll do for disabilities. So if you call them, if you need transportation, call them, you may be eligible for it. You must be 60 or older. The other thing I wanted to say is just a reminder that today is National Prescription Drug Take Back Day. And we do have a drop box right here at City Hall. So if you missed it today, you can drop them off at any time in the building.
It's at the police department, looks like a mailbox. And you're supposed to take the medication out of its container and put it in a baggie, as far as I know. That's still the same.
Yeah, we prefer not to have like any cardboard boxing, anything like that, because it just takes up a lot of space. No liquids, no syringes, but otherwise, any prescription or over-the-counter drugs that you want to get rid of, not flush, do anything like that, we can absolutely take them. It's right here in the police lobby, and that's open 24/7, so.
Thank you, Chief. And just hope to see everyone at the citywide cleanup on May 6th. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Timbers has one more thing he's asking to speak on.
Almost forgot I'm doing this for Mason because he's not here. Last week I went to a football camp held by Abdullah Anderson. He's a player for the Washington Commanders football team, whatever they call themselves right now, but that's the point. But there they invited all the local kids. And so I saw a lot of kids from Cedar Creek, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say these kids, they really stand out in the crowd. So, oh, and I just found out one of the kids at Cedar Creek, a wide receiver, he just got an offer D1 from the University of New Hampshire's name is
Thank you.
Kai Parker got something too. I don't remember what.
Councilwoman Clark,
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Councilwoman Galloway.
Yeah, I got a couple things. First, I wanted to let everybody know, I'm sure that a lot of people are already aware that Scott Scan and the Casualties is going to be having their annual concert at Cedar Creek High School. It's a fundraiser benefiting the Cedar Creek Band and the choir students. It's going to be 4 p.m. Sunday, May 21st at the Performing Arts Center. And tickets are $12, students are $5. He's planning a really nice program. I guess some kids will be performing, the choir will be performing, and it sounds like a lot of fun. So he's trying to really sell out the place. So hopefully people will stop by Sen's Plumbing and pick up tickets. I was wondering when we are going to have a finance committee meeting. I have several things I'd like to propose to the finance committee. Any word on when that will be?
Yeah, I'm gonna send an email out tomorrow or over this weekend for a couple days before the next meeting.
Okay, because I have two things to request of the finance committee. And I also got a response from Dennis Levinson regarding the hardscaping out at Peace Pilgrim Park that I requested that this county do with or provide us with funds from the open space grant. The open space tax that we pay on an annual basis. And I got the answer that I was expecting. It was a flat out no. So I would like our council to consider the concrete pieces of concrete lining the two bridges in Peace Pilgrim Park. If we could see our way through with the community projects, maybe we can get that area landscaped or hardscaped rather. And if not, maybe we can apply for a grant to do that. It's very dangerous. It's dangerous for the people who go there. It's dangerous for the pets who run around there. And I would like to see it, to me, it's an eyesore and I'd like to see it fixed up. So maybe we can work on that together in the future.
And that's a county bridge and we cannot do that, but what I can do is, which we discussed before, is to ask the county to put it in their budget to fix it.
Yeah,
I think Jim Bertino is still in charge of bridges. Does anybody know? Yeah.
Yes.
So when we had a problem in the past, we called Jim and he would come out and look at it and he's the one that really decides what projects get worked on.
Right.
So,
And also maybe we can consider it when we demolish the water treatment plant there across the street, because that creek runs right through there. And I don't know, I think it's awful looking and I always thought it was awful.
Get Jim out here and we'll have him take a look at it.
Okay, good. All right, thank you.
That open axe that Levington was talking about, would that qualify for the water treatment plant to bring it back to where it's supposed to be for Highlands?
So the reply that Councilman Galloway got was that they are only using the funds for acquisitions.
Okay, so to require it, not what we've already done. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to say something about that. That referendum was passed in 1990, and the referendum asked the voters of Atlantic County if they would fund a tax for open space and recreation. I think a few years later, we got $40,000 for Peace Pilgrim Park, and that's paid for that walkway that's in there and the platform where the statue is. A couple years after that, they arbitrarily changed it to be only for open space. And they did not go back to the taxpayers to ask the taxpayers if they would like to see that money only used for open space. And since then, they've given at least $1 million to a blueberry farmer to deed restrict his land for the future. It's a working farm. He sells a lot of blueberries, but yet he got another $1 million from county taxpayers to deed restrict his land for farming. So to me, it's an abuse of the tax. And if the taxpayers said, or the voters said, let's use it for open space and recreation, I think they should honor that.
Well, Nanette, I could bring it up at the mayor's meeting. the county mayor's meeting tomorrow night. Maybe, the county's usually there, Jerry's usually there. And, see what he has to say. Maybe the mayor will agree with you, or maybe we can get a resolution.
Yeah, they're asking for a half a cent this year. Some years they didn't collect it because they didn't want to collect it because their budget was going up. But this year they're asking for a half cent tax levy, and it says that it'll be offset by appropriations, but I can't find out what the appropriations are. He didn't answer that question in my letter. So they're probably using it for Lake Lenape or some other park improvement in one of the county parks. So I don't know. I just think if they're collecting tax from the municipalities, something should come back. We got plenty of land. We don't need any more land. We need what we have upgraded and our facilities, our recreational facilities upgraded. That's all.
Thank you. All right, before I open up public comment, I'm gonna bring something up. I usually don't bring my career to Egg Harbor City. But unbeknownst to me, there's a program that I'm responsible for in my career. It's called the Youth Fire Setting Intervention Program. There's really nothing set up in Atlantic County right now, and I have a feeling I'm going to be the poster child with my municipality and my department. So the Youth Fire Setting Intervention Program is a program for the youths who are curious about fire, experiment with fire, use fire maliciously, so on and so forth. I'm going to build the program from the foundation up in my department. And with that being said, it's going to be broadcasted more or less countywide in Atlantic County throughout the 23 municipalities. With Egg Harbor City being my home, I can tell you right now, I'm going to bring it to Egg Harbor City first. So we have it, and I work with our fire official here and get it known to our public. It's a very intense process to get it built. It's a very intense process to keep it going. But once it is built and once it is established, it's a very simple thing where fire prevention specialists, youth fire setting specialists who have been trained on it, maintain it. And there's a lot of reporting. So I just wanted to put that out there that it is going to be in the county. And again, myself, my team, my departments are going to probably be the poster child with that. We're probably looking 6 months to get it up and running, but once it is up and running, I'll be reaching out to other LEAs, chief, for support and for a coalition and professionals with counselors, health mental specialists, hospitals, and so on and so forth. So again, like I said, I don't like to bring my profession to this town while I represent Egg Harbor City, but this is something that should be near and dear to everyone's heart that have children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, when they see them pick up a lighter and just start flicking it, because their curiosity begins and it could lead to something more up to, and it has happened, loss of life in a fire. So once I get that up and running, I will be bringing it to the municipalities. So with that being said, I'd like to open it up to the public for any public comment.
Council President, before you guys continue on with that, I just have one question. I didn't read this beforehand. The retro for the bereavement pay, will that be open to all part-time employees? And if so, how long is the retroactive period?
Okay, that question, that was not addressed. So it's something we can explore and look into. So.
I think we did talk about it, and I think you guys said this before. I think you did.
Yeah, I would definitely support it.
The one we approved.
I mean, I think we would have to come up with a timeline.
Yeah. So, where am I? Public comment. We open up to public comment. Come on up, state your name, address.
My name is Rick Snow from Rick's Power Plus. And my question really is, I tried since January 3rd to pay the taxes and get retention of my property because I apologize, I ran into some financial problems. I've now secured the money and I've asked council through a letter I wrote, and then 3 more times through a lawyer. And I'm just curious as to, it's a considerable amount of money. And the city, by foreclosing it and not letting me pay it, it's actually gonna cost the taxpayers more money in the end. You to go through the foreclosure, clean the property out, and then try and sell it. I'm not sure. My question really is, I guess, why wouldn't you be happy to make your 18% and take money from me and allow me to continue my business? My business is a vital business in this town, not just this town, but I draw business from Williamstown, Cape May, Palms River. I mean, there's no mower shops left in this area anywhere, like South Jersey.
So, Mr. Stuffle, I appreciate your business and I thank you for all the years you've had your business in Carver City. What happened was your property was foreclosed upon, I believe, at the end of the year. And that's because of many years that unfortunately you did not pay the property tax. And it was a considerable sum. The attorney fees have already been paid for the foreclosure. And now they're proceeding to unfortunately also evict you. The city may have other uses for your property. It's not going up for sale, to the best of my knowledge. I did speak to your attorney on several occasions and explained to him that the committee met. They looked at everything. They met several times to discuss the situation. And it was the committee's opinion and the committee, as well as the mayor and council, they did not wish to accept any further offers from you, that the foreclosure would stand and the eviction would take place.
Where you go? Let me ask you a question. You were foreclosed on within the last year?
I was foreclosed on right around December of last year, January 3rd. I came in and was given an amount that needed to be paid. It was like $65,000. And that's why I had so much trouble, $55,684.71. And that was on February 5th.
I'm new to this. Is he within the statutory redemption period or outside?
Now I think he's outside of it. When he did make the request, he might have been within it. Foreclosure council was the one who could care of that. But during the interim, the council committee met, they discussed the situation, and they decided not to give him the opportunity to redeem.
Okay. And how long have you been in Carver City? How long have you been in this business?
22 years.
22 years.
22 years at that location, 25, 26 years, I was at another location.
Unfortunately, the years, there were several years, there were 8 to 10 years of property taxes that Mr. Stuckley was unable to pay. Disregarded many notices, many attempts by the city to try to get him to pay. And all those attempts were not taken seriously by Mr. Stuckley. At one point, he came in and said he was not going to pay.
That never happened.
It was with trepidation, and the city had the foreclosure attorney foreclose.
Even if you did,
I never said I wouldn't pay the taxes.
Sir, even if that's the case, do you have the full amount to pay?
Yes,
to
I do.
redeem?
Yes, I did.
If you did, would you pay for all the city's costs? 'Cause
I already, yes, I had offered to pay for all of any cost that was incurred in a foreclosure.
So you would make the city whole?
Yeah.
Be back on the roll, we could collect taxes, I'm for it.
That would have to go back to committee.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I'm for it, you can go back to committee, I'm for it.
So
my attorney even asked to be put on the agenda, to have it discussed at council, and like 2 days later, I got it done.
Would you entertain a motion to send it back to committee, just to review it? I mean, if he's got the full amount to pay, they'll make the city whole.
You may be able to make the city whole, unfortunately, going forward. What happens when he doesn't pay the taxes?
Well, to be honest with you, I have an investor here. Is actually loaning me the money. So you can be sure he's gonna be checking to make sure the taxes are paid, because he's not gonna lose his money. And prior to that, prior to where I had the problem, it was 5 years actually that I had a problem. And it got ahead of me, and I had a lot of things happen personally in my life. That it just snowballed effect, and I came in to pay the taxes, it was 15,000. The only comment you may be thinking of is, which I came back like 2 weeks later, and it was like 23,000, and I went, oh my gosh, am I ever gonna pay this? Because it got ahead of me so much.
Mr. Suckley, I did speak with your attorney not once, but twice, and explained to him the situation, and I volunteered to put him on the agenda or whatever it was he needed to do. But the committee was unwilling to deal with it again, since they've already reviewed it twice.
I'm not real sure when it was reviewed. I went to a couple of council meetings, it wasn't, I guess, done in council. Somewhere else.
Committee meetings or committees are set up, are established with 4 council members, including the mayor. And at every committee member, the mayor attends with those 4 council members, along with our city attorney, if needed, along with our city engineer, if needed, along with our city CFO, if needed. They do not have to be advertised under the Sunshine Law Act, because there are 4 or less members of council there. And so situations like this are discussed at a committee level. We discuss it at a committee level. We decide what direction we want to go in, and this goes for every committee that we just went through earlier this evening. Once the decision is rendered within the committee, then we bring it back to the council at a council meeting, discuss, and allow council to render the final decision. So this is why you were not at a committee meeting.
And don't you think the owner of the shop should be at that meeting?
They're not open to the
No,
public.
they are not open to the public because there are only 4 or less sworn council members there under the Sunshine Law Act. If there was 5 sworn council members, then yes, it would be an Open Public Meetings Act.
Still doesn't answer my question as to why you won't let me pay what I owe and retain my business.
I think your attorney told you, because he told me that it's perfectly within the purview of this council to permit that or not permit that.
Right.
And under these circumstances and the many years the taxes were paid and the large amount that was unpaid, the decision was not to permit that. If the circumstances had been different, perhaps they would have, but because, as I say again, the amount of the money and the number of years that were not paid.
The amount of money that's actually was 5 years, that's $25,000, and there's 55,000 in penalties, fees, and interest. So I paid to the city over 65,000 in taxes over the last years that I've been here. And
Mr. Stuckley, I'm happy to speak with your attorney again. If he wants to give you another call, I'm happy to explain it to him for a 3rd time. Thank you very much.
Anybody else on the public? Hey, how you doing, sir?
All right.
If you can state your name and address.
My name is William Aronson.
How you doing, sir?
I'm a neighbor of Egg Harbor City. My mailing address is here, so I feel part of you. But that's not the reason I'm here. The reason I'm here is, among other things, to say I've watched your town grow and prosper over the last 15 or 20 years, unlike my town over in New Gretna. So I suspect the people sitting here have a lot to do with the rejuvenation of this town. When I was a kid, this was quite the place. Atlantic City was roaring. I know I'm showing my age, but it was a hot spot that supported Atlantic City. So I kind of have a fondness for the city. I like what you're doing. And Why I'm here is to support the gentleman who I just heard plead his case. Now, I don't even know his last name. I've been coming to his business for probably 18 or 20 years. Dropping off my mowers, my chainsaws, my weed whackers, and the like. And I came over, what's today, Thursday? Saturday, to drop off my mowers for their spring cleaning, and the owner, Rick, said that he couldn't take my equipment because he was afraid he was gonna be evicted. Being what I consider to be a responsible person, I spent my entire life in business. I thought very honorable thing to do, turn down business because he was afraid he would get evicted. So I inquired, just what is going on here? And he explained a little bit, so I know a little bit, but not very much. And based on that, I said, you know, I wouldn't mind coming over to your, is this a council form of government?
Yes.
Yeah, we have a commissioner from Bass River. By the way, you do a nice job. I like your meetings.
Thank you.
That, you know, I would try and come over and try and get more educated on the process and to support what I thought was a good legitimate business. And as I see it, that's exactly the case. I heard him say earlier, there are no mower repair shops around anymore. He's absolutely right. I had to take my equipment up to John Deere in Hamilton. That's gonna cost me 3 times more than if he did it, probably more than that. So you are really depriving the area of a very valuable service for the reasons that I don't understand in terms of he's willing to make the town whole. He's willing to stay in business in town. He's got financial backing. For the life of me, and I have a degree in economics, I cannot understand why this council would not accept his proposal to make the town whole. Financially, it's a good decision. Politically, it's a good decision. From a Chamber of Commerce position, I'm not sure you have a chamber. It would be a good position. You certainly have commerce. So I would urge you to reconsider your decision. I understand that you struggled through some tough times with him not paying his taxes, but apparently, listening to what I just heard, so did he. 5 years takes me back to just about COVID time. We all suffered through COVID time. So for God's sakes, do the decent, legitimate thing for this community and your area around this community, and let that gentleman maintain his business in town. My only interest is bringing my equipment over here. I go to other places in town, and once in a while, I used to go to a German restaurant back on one of the back streets, that closed down. I go to your local plumbing supply, and I go to Rick's. And I enjoy coming over. I want to see the council do what I consider to be the right thing. Apparently, the lawyers have been far too involved with this, due respect to your attorney. This is a council commission decision. I urge you to leave that viable business in town, take his money. He's willing to pay, and you'll have a good taxpayer going forward. Thank you for your attention. And I, once again, want to say, I don't live here, but I appreciate you listening to my comments.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else from the public would like to speak? Anybody online?
Yeah, I can give a quick update on the trail.
Yeah, how you doing, Mike?
Doing well. Hope everyone's doing well too. Things are going well with the trail. We have now our signs being printed out. We have a couple interpretive signs. The Cedar Creek kids were very helpful with that. We had one student draw up quite a bunch of mountain laurel flowers, and there's another student still working on one of their signs, and hopefully we'll have that printed in the next week or two. Shire Mills made some benches for us and also some split rail. Keith is going to be helping installing that with the gates. Keith's done a great job so far too, and his crew. They cleared out that old dam area. If anyone's been back there recently, It looks really good. You're gonna be able to walk right out to the Landing Creek without much obstruction. So super excited about that. A couple questions I kind of had is, now that we're done with the interpretive signs, we probably got to get some official rule signs out there. And I was poking around the ordinances on the E-Code online, and it seems like there's a whole chapter for City Lake Park, but I wasn't sure if it's just for the campground and the beach or it's for everything else. The big things I think we should list on the sign are pets are allowed, but they have to be on a leash, no quads, no dirt bikes, no fires, no littering. That's pretty much it. The ordinance that I saw online just mentioned that dogs were actually prohibited. So I'm just not sure if I'm missing something. Maybe there's another ordinance out there. But I think the rules are, if we're going to make rules, there should be an ordinance attached to that, correct? I'm just not really sure on how these official signs should be printed, if there needs to be an ordinance number on there or what. The other question I had is, right now there's no parking spots there. Probably should stay that way. There may be a spot, there may be room for maybe 1 or 2 spots, and I was wondering if we should maybe put an ADA spot there. So anyone with a handicap could park there and still access it really easily. Right now on the map I made, the parking is designated in the lake campground. The lake parking area, but I'm just not sure if we should put one there or just have no parking spots at all. And if there is no parking spots, we should probably have no parking signs. And then does that also need an ordinance with it? So I guess that's really my big question, is just, the ordinance itself that's called the City Lake Park chapter, is that for the whole parcel or just the beach? And then do we need to modify that at all to clarify these park rules?
We actually have an ordinance to modify those rules on the next agenda.
Okay.
It is on there, and noise will be on there too. Otherwise, the ordinance has a list of prohibited activities already in it.
Okay, cool, awesome. When's that meeting?
May 11th.
Is that a public one or is that a committee meeting?
No, it's a public meeting.
Okay, maybe if you want, I can just kind of put a list of the rules that I think should be displayed kind of by the entrance kiosk, and maybe that'd be helpful.
Okay, sure.
Okay, awesome. That was all I have. Does anyone have any questions or anything?
Are they new rules or ones we already had?
I think they're existing. Based on the one chapter for City Lake Park, it seems that most of it's already there. It says fires are only allowed on the campground. It's the only one that's a little odd, I guess, would be the pets, right? It says nope. It says pets are prohibited, but on the North Beach there is a sign that says dogs must be leashed, and there's also worded in there about how dogs can't swim in any of the creeks or anything. That should definitely be the case on the Landing Creek too. The one wording I did notice though was that any of the tributaries that feed the lake, the Landing Creek technically doesn't. It goes behind it. So I wonder if maybe it should just be any of the tributaries that lead to the Moloka don't have the dogs swim in.
Well,
Go ahead.
Mike, that was put in place because we had one time had horses out there, and I'm sure they still are there, but during the summer, people would bring their horses out there and let them swim while there were bathers in the lake. And
wow,
one time they were in there, we had to close the lake because of the bacteria level. So that was put into place because of the swimming area and the bacteria level.
Okay.
I'm not sure it would be necessary in the creeks that flow down to the river. I don't believe they flow into the lake because.
No, they don't. So I don't think I think you're probably right there. It's probably not needed, but at least have the dogs be leashed. So,
Yeah.
right now, it's just a little, I guess, ambiguous between dogs prohibited versus where dogs are allowed. So maybe there is word in the code that I just didn't see. Maybe it's part of another chapter or something.
Yeah, we do have a leash law.
Okay.
And Mike, adding to that, we might need to have some of those, I don't know what they're called, poop cans.
Yeah.
Because people do, I had my dogs out there and people do let their dogs go, and I had to take my dog home and bathe her because she thought it was a cool place to roll. So, we should have some of the cans out there that people can pick up and, signs to pick up after their dogs.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Right now, we're just looking at the ACUA recycle and trash cans, but maybe we can get a doggy bag thing out there too. That's a pretty good idea.
So Mike, what I recommend is we take a look at that ordinance and the amendment that is going to be introduced on May 11th, and anything already in there, you can put out, but if it's not in there, then maybe you could, email me. I think you have my email.
I think so. If not, I'll find it.
Right, and just tell me what you would like, and then I'll discuss it with the committee.
Okay, awesome. And the only other word I saw that was a little ambiguous is for the ORV usage. It does say like no quads are allowed, but it doesn't say no dirt bikes. So I guess technically it doesn't prohibit people riding dirt bikes back there. So I just wonder if that wording should change from quad to just ORV, since we're not gonna be allowed vehicles back there either. So that was the only other thing I saw that maybe updated too. But emergency vehicles, I hope, should have no problem getting back there. The gates aren't that sturdy. I imagine in a real either fire or emergency situation that they would just plow through the gate rather than wait for a key. And I'm pretty sure that these gates aren't super sturdy, so any sort of large vehicle would be able to just break right through if they needed to. I don't know what the actual protocol is for emergency vehicles accessing wooded areas, if it, they need to have a special key or they just ram the gate. I'm not really sure. And I guess that's it. No one has any more questions. That's all I have. Thank you for your
Thank you,
time.
Mike. Anybody else from public? Go once, twice, motion to adjourn,
So moved.
second,
Okay.
all in favor?
Aye.